I'm Amy Verhulst here at LMA26 with Ryan Hayes, Associate Director of Strategic Client Events. Ryan, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Now your session, Hospitality versus Strategy, Rethinking Entertaining with Purpose. Events, BD, marketing, the whole ecosystem, we're all related, we're all connected.
Yeah.
Very important topic for us to be discussing here. Tell me a little bit about what you think is a shift you're seeing in this space that perhaps firms need to be taking and aren't thinking about.
Events are something that all of us do.
Right.
And I think it's something that all of us feel like we have to do. I don't know if it actually happens to be that way. One of the key questions that we ask in my department is, what are the events that we're doing that maybe we shouldn't, and what are the events that we're not doing that maybe we should?
Right.
But I think there's just not about the events themselves. We actually, in the session, we delve into exactly the why and who and who's attending, and better strategies for that. But more importantly, the hospitality element of what are we doing to make these events that we do special and stand out and more impactful for our firms.
I love that. Now, is it really hospitality versus strategy, or do the two coexist? And how do we get more strategy into the hospitality that we're already putting forth?
Yeah, I don't know if these things are opposing concepts at all. It's really the hospitality and strategy, and they're not things that cancel each other out by any means. But we should be obviously incorporating both in really strategic ways to the events that we do. And that can be literally in the micro. One of the things we didn't have time to talk about was even the nitty-gritty of guest list management or designing the room, designing the conversations in the room, and setting up our lawyers for success about the things they specifically need to talk about in order to get the outcomes of the event that we really want. But on the macro, there's so many things that we could be doing better. There's this notion that events and BD are inherently complementary but separate, and we talk more about how these things are actually intertwined with each other, and that the event people need to think strategically and the BD people need to think more about execution and the elements that are best aligned to getting the outcomes that they want.
Fantastic. Now, I heard the word outcomes a lot,
Yeah.
which makes me think of the key thing that happens once we do an event.
Yep.
What's the ROI?
I don't know if there's a more annoying question for us, but it's difficult. It's a valid question, but I think it's asking the wrong thing.
Okay.
To ask for ROI inherently asks a transactional question for a relationship-based venture. And there are better questions, and we go through this entire concept in our session about a client value menu and asking what are the values we actually want to promote. And there's 11 different values we can go through that we don't have time, but there's actually a QR code as get the whole list of the different values that are more specific, and each of them has different questions to ask, and none of them are where's the matter or how much money do we make from it. So we're not selling widgets. We as legal marketers are really inherently in the relationship building business, and providing value to our clients and to our lawyers. And so if we think about events as a value proposition or something that is generating value for these stakeholders, then the question shifts, and then the evaluation of whether or not it was worth it also shifts. So it's not a clean, what's the ROI? There's not a dollar figure attached to it. There are better questions and better answers that can come from it.
I think that's so insightful and impactful. And if I were to go back to my firm and my colleagues here go back, what's one key thing that we could implement pretty quickly to help start driving us toward that more strategic approach and outcome versus focusing on bottom line ROI? Was this worth it? Should we put it in the budget again next year?
Yeah, I think it's tough to narrow down to one.
Or one that rises to the top.
One that rises to the top. I think I encourage all of my team to think of client engagement as a competitive sport.
Oh.
And that is, you need to think about it in ways that are competitive for the attention, not just in the how do we get someone to arrive to our event,
right,
which is one element.
Yeah.
We joke about you're not competing with getting people from their office. Sometimes you're asking, the event needs to be so compelling, you need to get people to put on real pants and to come put on makeup and to get out of their house to come to an event. And that's certainly a competitive in one aspect,
right,
but now you're also competing against all the other firms and all the other demands for their time.
Right.
So what you do, the connection that you make with them needs to be so genuine and insightful and targeted for them that allows the greatest amount of connection to have and the most amount of value to be had for you as a client.
That's fantastic. And it sounds like all of the pre-work you're talking about with events and BD, collaborating, connecting, being strategic, always bring in the hospitality. It's going to
Yeah.
be there in a more thoughtful way, really shapes that and brings that to the forefront so that you can have that success in the end.
Yeah, I think that another shortcut, which here's a better takeaway maybe, is that legal work is inherently rational, but the decisions that our clients make is inherently emotional.
Exactly.
And so it is, we talk about bringing events from, this pyramid we have and the graphic of bringing it from transactional to connective to transformational. And that transformation is not necessarily about changing much, it's about allowing them to change the way or why they make a decision to stay as a client or to become a client or to engage in you in a different way. And so we always want to have our events moving on that spectrum, really upwards and onwards.
I agree, onwards and upwards. And with that, thank you, Ryan. This has been very insightful and looking forward to collaborating some more.
Absolutely. Again, thank you for having me.
Yeah.